Howdy folks, I'm Brian. Here's some Reddit. You'll notice that today is scheduled to be Alice in Wonderland. That's either been released before or after this video. I'm not sure which, but it should be released today, hopefully. So let's get started. Our first letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for telling my grandson that he needs to stop blaming older people for the reason why he is struggling to find work?" I'm a 65-year-old male and I've been retired for 2 years now. I have more than enough money in the bank, and I'm proud to say that upon retiring, I will be able to sell my business for quite a large sum. My grandson, 23, graduated 2 years ago and has struggled to hold down a job. He complains to his parents and me about how tough it is out there, that the older generation has ruined it for him, and that it's too difficult. Now, I understand that this virus has been hard on people, but he has had this rhetoric for years now. When I was his age, I was married, had a 6-year-old son, and a place of my own. And I also had started my own business. I didn't come from an especially privileged background either. It was through my sheer tenacity and hard work that I succeeded. So recently, my grandson was complaining to me that things are very difficult for people his age, and I had to say my honest thoughts. I told him that he just sounds like a complainer, and that people who succeed aren't the ones who whine. I knew many people with similar attitudes to him who were older than me and they didn't succeed. I told him in no uncertain words that it's nobody else's fault and that blaming other generations doesn't help. He immediately got angry and called me a jerk. I was very struck by his rudeness. I would never have talked to my granddad like that at his age. He is upset, but I feel like he will not succeed with his lackluster attitude. Am I a jerk? So, here's the problem. Things are actually more difficult for the current generation than the boomer generation. And boomers had an immense amount of privilege, and it's hard for them to see why it's difficult for people nowadays to succeed. Now, I'm not saying that your grandson is right and that it's all the fault of the older generation. I think that there is certainly some level of responsibility on his part that, he needs to basically take responsibility for his own actions and, of course, find jobs and be successful in any way that he can. But this doesn't excuse the boomer generation from basically selling out the youth and essentially causing things to be very hard for young people these days. And to not acknowledge that at all and say, well, this is pure tenacity that I succeeded, well, you were in the right place at the right time, and success oftentimes has more to do with socioeconomic status than it has anything to do with intelligence or tenacity or any other things. You really need to be in the right place at the right time, and you really need things to work well for you. And don't get me wrong, the harder you work and the more you put yourself out there, the more of those opportunities you'll get to succeed. But it's not necessarily easy to succeed. And it's also not as easy for people in this generation to succeed as it was for boomers. And that's just a reality here. I mean, rent is higher than it was in your generation. Food prices are higher. The general cost of living is higher. Wages have stagnated. They're lower. Employers, use every trick in the book to basically get cheap labor in every way they can. And it's really not a good situation for the younger generations out there. So yeah, I think your lack of understanding about the situation doesn't help here. You're the jerk. Sheer tenacity, hard work, and opportunity. If you really want to make money these days, you need to start rich and invest. Yeah. Some people hit the jackpot with professional work, and many get stuck in dead-end, low-wage jobs where employees aren't valued. This is not a lack of character, it's how our economy is structured. And yes, that's a shift your generation and mine allowed to happen by not reining in those who wanted cheap plug-and-play labor. I think that's actually a really good comment, and I think that highlights a lot of the issues. You're the jerk. Have you actually sat down and let him show you how much a degree costs now? What the housing to salary ratio is in your area? The experience bar on entry-level jobs? My parents, a couple years older than you, could buy 2 starter homes in the city for 3 times my father's salary. My 1-bedroom home at the cheapest edge of the city was 8 times the equivalent salary. I could only afford it due to compensation for an injury in the military, and I needed to own it so adaptations could be made. Some of the jobs I applied for post-discharge, run-of-the-mill office stuff, had upwards of 100 applicants per post and wanted 3 years of experience for a minimum wage job. They had to be applied for online. If you walked in and tried just to give your business a CV, they'd dump it in the bin and send you away with a flea in your ear. I can't speak for US degree costs, but in the UK, both my parents got fully funded undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate work. Now you pay $9,000 a year just for tuition. P.S. Trade schools charge too. So it sounds like even in the UK, things are not as necessarily good as it could be. And I'll probably read this last one. You're the jerk. As someone who is 65, you benefited from housing prices that were a fraction of housing prices now, college tuition costs that were a fraction of tuition costs now, entering the job market during a time when ununionized jobs were much more common than now, protections for workers were much stronger than they are now, and discrimination in favor of men was much stronger than it is now. Having one of the largest periods of economic expansions in history take place during your working life. I'm not saying that you benefited from all those trends. However, different generations do have different experiences in life, and you're the jerk for not realizing that. Our next letter is titled, Am I the jerk for telling my overweight brother that he must have enjoyed the soda? My brother is 23 and he's like 50 pounds overweight. He makes no effort to lose the weight except for like an attempt to cut soda from his diet and magically thinks that he's going to be healthy like that. One day, his friend came over and drank some soda and they jokingly poured it all over him. He started crying and told them to go home. Later, I found him in his room crying and binge drinking root beer. I said, "Why are you crying? It's just soda and it tastes good." It's natural for humans to enjoy sugary things because that's how the brain is wired. And he was like, "Yeah, it tasted good, but that doesn't mean I liked it." I laughed at him and told him that it was illogical to say something felt good and then turn around and say it doesn't mean that you enjoyed it. He told me I was mean, but I don't know. Am I the jerk or is he just sensitive? No, you're a jerk here. And the thing is that you can, something can feel good while simultaneously being bad. I mean, you can. So the human body doesn't work like that. The human body isn't logical. And a lot of times there's just not any order or logic to the feelings that we feel. That's the nature of feelings. They are not logical. He has a problem with food. He was bullied. And he had a friend who was clearly not a friend do this to him. So first off, he has an unhealthy relationship with food. And he's aware of that. And that's probably part of the reason why he's crying and binge drinking soda. He doesn't want to do this. It's a really hard thing for him to struggle against. This is not just a simple matter of, whether it's logical or not. This is a actual problem that he has, and he probably should seek therapy. And as for your heartless kind of comment towards him, there are plenty of activities. I'll even name one right here. If you tickle somebody, they might be laughing and seem like they're enjoying it, and they involuntarily laugh at it. However, they might not actually be enjoying this situation. Tickling is an involuntary response, and while it might be fun to some degree, and some people do enjoy being tickled, not everyone does. And so there isn't always a logical, rational reason for someone to not enjoy something that feels good. The body will betray you. The body isn't necessarily logical. It doesn't. So yeah, no, you're a jerk and your brother needs new friends. You're the jerk. His friend just humiliated him and you entirely missed the point of why he was upset. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Feeding My Girlfriend Hooters? So me and my girlfriend got into an argument a few weeks back. because she has this weird thing where if a restaurant stands for a value that she doesn't agree with, she'll say the food is trash even though it is not. For example, because of the kind of organization that Chick-fil-A used to donate to and support, she said that their chicken sandwiches are overhyped and not that great. But Chick-fil-A is obviously popular for a reason, and their food is amazing. Similarly, she says that the Hooter burgers are trash. She thinks Hooters objectify women, even though their burgers are the best that I've ever had. So today I wanted to order food and I wanted to do an experiment. I ordered Hooters off Uber Eats since they deliver now because of the pandemic, and I told her that I ordered from a different restaurant that we didn't have before. And then when it arrived, she was in my room watching TV, and I switched the food into a different box before bringing it to her. While eating, she kept talking about how good the food is, and I informed her that I actually ordered from Hooters. Then she got so upset with me and told me that I deceived her and fed her something that she didn't want, and I told her that she enjoyed it because she didn't know it was from Hooters. She threw away her food and left my apartment and is ignoring my text, and now I don't know what to do. Am I the jerk, even though she literally enjoyed it until I told her where it was from? You deceived your girlfriend, you lied to her, and you fed her food that she is ethically in a disagreement with. Let's make another analogy here. If your girlfriend was a vegetarian and you told her that they had this brand new vegetarian burger that tasted like the real thing, and you fed it to her, and then after she got done eating it, you were like, oh, hey, by the way, it's not really vegetarian, it was a real burger, ha ha ha. She would probably feel deceived, and she would probably feel upset about that because you violated her ethics. And the same kind of thing with any other kind of deception. People do not like being deceived, and while she has her biases, and her biases may affect how things taste to her, that's not your choice to make for her. Biases do impact how people perceive food, and that's really just how humans are. Yeah, I think this was a huge betrayal of trust, and I think that she has every right to be annoyed and angry with you, and that you should not have lied to her and deceived her, especially with something that she has ethical qualms about. You're the jerk. Who cares if the food is good? She's allowed to draw the line where her morals stand. Also, I like that she said, she thinks that Hooters objectifies women, like that isn't a valid statement for a restaurant centered around using their waitresses' big old breasts, can we say breasts on YouTube, to get people to come in. Also, must be a troll because Hooters food is gross except for wings. So yeah, I think actually people have some valid points here. This might actually be a troll. So I do think that this person makes a really good point here, and I think that, yeah, I mean, you don't get to decide where people's moral lines are, and even if this post might not be real, I think that it does bring some important thoughts to mind and does have some value to at least be discussed. So our last letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Tipping a Waitress Because She Tried to Gain Sympathy for Being a Struggling Single Mother? Before the pandemic, I, a 22-year-old male, went to eat at a restaurant with my friend, another 22-year-old male. The place was nice, and we hadn't been before, and it wasn't that busy. Now the waitress who served us looked about our age. She was friendly and attentive. So eventually she brings up that she's a single mother and she's juggling 2 jobs. From the way she was telling it, she really went off on a tangent and was trying to score some sympathy points. Yes, my natural inclination is to feel sympathetic, but she was really hammering it. Whatever sympathy I had was outweighed by her desperation and attempts to emotionally manipulate me. I decided not to tip her, and my friend agreed with me after I explained why I don't think he should, so we left without tipping. I was recounting this story to my family the other day, and they were very shocked, and they called me a jerk and all sorts, but I don't think I was, but now I'm unsure. Am I the jerk? Yes, you should always tip waitstaff. I mean, I don't even need to go further than that, but you said that she was friendly and attentive, and that's what's important. So she gave you good service, and so as per the social contract here, she's entitled to a tip. You know when you go to a restaurant that you're going to tip somebody if they do a good job. And again, my personal belief is that you should always tip somebody, but if someone does a better job, then maybe they deserve more of a tip. And yeah, you have a social obligation to tip a waitress at a restaurant if that restaurant is a tipping restaurant. You're the jerk. You said that she was attentive, therefore you got good service. She deserved a 15 to 20% tip. That's the average in the US. Not sure where you are. You're the jerk. People survive off of tips. You could have just given her the minimum tip instead of no tip at all. Yeah. All right, folks. That's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving me a thumbs up. If you didn't, consider giving me a thumbs down. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Similarly, she says that the Hooters. I ordered Hooters.